quick update on my cousin Junior, Dad's first cousin. Um, Throughout the week, he had gotten pretty rough. They were a bit worried, but then they put him on a vent. But then they were pretty much able to take him off the vent within 24 hours, which was really good. And things were looking better. But this morning, my mom texted me and said they're going to put him back on the vent. It's probably about 30 minutes ago she texted me. So, yeah, blood infection, those sorts of things. He had an operation, I think, and they pretty much believe that's what this is all coming from. He had an operation back in June or July, I think. So, continued praise for him, and prayers for my dad as well, who's having to stay up there pretty much. He's been up there for a little over a week now, because Junior doesn't. His parents are both passed. He has no siblings, no spouse, so he's pretty much up there by himself. He's wheelchair bound, if you didn't know. So my dad's pretty much having to be the person up there for him. And if you know my dad, he does not do well being away from Kentucky or his couch for more than 24 hours. So he's having to. My mom went up there yesterday to give him more clothes and stuff. So just continued prayers on that is much appreciated. Well, I guess preview of the lesson if you want one. Yesterday, I tend to read over the lesson as we go, throughout the week, so get acquainted with it. I was reading over it and I fell asleep halfway through, so I don't know if that's a good sign or not. Do your best, I guess. Get your elbow ready for your neighbor or whatever you need to do. So anyway, I wanted to talk today about change. Change is something that we all kind of want from time to time. But sometimes we really don't know what we want to change, or where the change needs to come from, or how even to do it. Sometimes we kind of dwell on the past and we want to change the past, but we all know that's not going to happen. Sometimes we want to think about the future, or change the future, but that can be a little overwhelming because we don't know what's going to happen. We want to change people around us. We want to change society. We want to change our work, our boss. There's plenty of things we can go through. We want things to change back to the way they were. But in about every scenario you can think of changing something, but we can't do it. We can't do anything for it at all. We can truly change is ourselves, and that sounds pretty tough too. How do I change myself? So today, though, I want to talk about what we can do changing our day. That's one thing we do have control over, because we can't change the past. We can't change the future, but we can plan for the future. We can do that, but we can't really change anything but given, and that's a day, right? We wake up, we get a day. We go to sleep. Hopefully, we wake up, we get a day. We are only really guaranteed the moments we have, and that's now. As I was looking at this, I saw that the kind of the theme, or to change a day equals to change a life, and maybe your life, maybe somebody else's life, but to change that just one day. And every day has a beginning and an end. The little statistics here. The average lifespan is 20,000 to 30,000 days. So that sounds like a lot. It sounds like we got a lot of days to work with. But so often, our present day, the day we are given, is kind of overlooked by the past or the future. When it comes to the past, we think about things that happened, things we might have done wrong, things that we wish we could get back, those sorts of things. And again, there's also those memories that will remind us that are good, positive memories, and we shouldn't, discredit those or forget about those. But it tends to be, if we are thinking about the past, sometimes those regrets come to mind. Those regrets can burden us more. When it comes to the future, we should not ignore the future in a way. We should plan for it. We'll get into that a little bit more. Planning is not the I guess the point to get at. More of just looking for the future. I want to be this. I want to have this when in 5 years or a year. I want these sorts of things. Those kind of futuristic thoughts, I guess, is things that can muddle down our day, the day we have now. But as I said before, the only thing we have, many of us have probably made New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do this by the end of the year, or I'm going to do this in 6 months. I'm going to do whatever. And that can be a little bit overwhelming. You think about a whole year, I'm going to do this one thing, or I'm going to fix this one problem. And that kind of makes us kind of give up a little quicker than we want to, or than we should. So in this sense, I want us to think about or change our perspective, and not so much of saying, I'm going to do this in a year, but work more a day-by-day thing. Because if we shorten it down and go, I'm going to make this change of ourselves or whatever it may be in a year, that's tough. But if we say, I'm going to make it just today, I'm making this change today, and then the next day you keep focused on that change, it's not as overbearing or too hard to overcome. We want to have a strengthened, or just what we want today. And we want to be strengthened daily. In the Bible, in Acts chapter 16, verse 5, so the church was strengthened in the faith and increased in numbers daily. I think that should be our goal here. If we can do this daily, we can strengthen our numbers daily, and we want the church to grow daily. So, how can we make this change? How can we make this daily change and hopefully strengthen our church all at the same time? Of course, a day has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we'll try to cover it all here. But the beginning of the day, our day should definitely begin with God or the Bible. Starting our day off with God immediately gets us on the right path. The first 5 minutes of your day is very important. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of your day. I talk to my students about writing and talk about how important that introduction is. They're going to read. And the first thing somebody's going to read is that introduction. And if it's good, you're going to keep on going. There we go. But that first thing you get, I give them the example of eating. If you're eating something and that first bite is good, you're going to want more, right? If it's bad, it's just not you're just not going to want any more. And that's the same thing. If we wake up in the morning, we've probably all been there. We hit the alarm goes off. We hit snooze. I don't know why they changed. I think used to you had to do a whole swipe and this and that when the alarm went off, and like by the time you did all that, you was up, so you might as well stay up. Now you can just hit one little button and you forget about everything. It's happened before, or it has happened to me, where you sleep through the alarm for about 10 minutes too much, and then I'm behind the bus trying to get to school on time, and the bus keeps picking up more students. I don't know why it's taking so long, but I need to get to school, and the school bus is taking too much time. It happened. But that sets the tone. Then you're playing catch up throughout the whole day. You're trying to catch back up. You didn't get this ready. And I'm talking specifically to say my school. It applies to all. You want to have that good first waking up moment, I guess. And sometimes we can't plan for that, but that happens. Now, if we wake up with the Lord or with the Bible, does that mean that we wake up and we get our coffee and we read a chapter a day, or chapter? First thing in the morning, we read a chapter. It could be, if you can. We also sometimes, wake up and thank God it's Friday. That's not really what we're getting at here. We're not talking about just a simple blanket thank you. Okay, I'm ready to go. Get to Monday. Lord be with me. It's Monday. That's we need a little more than that. Those are just trivial sayings that aren't going to get us anywhere. Maybe instead we wake up and we take a moment of meditation. Maybe while you're taking a shower, you could have a moment of meditation, a moment to pray. thankful for the day that we've received. Again, we get these days every day. You think 30,000, 20,000 is a lot, but taking advantage of one and not being appreciative of one, you know, is a bit unnecessary. Maybe we read a few verses of the Bible when we wake up, just a few verses here, a few verses there, and continue. We've had those. You can get it on the Bible app or whatever. Of reading the Bible in a year, it's not going to hurt to read it again and keep reminding ourselves. The point is very simple. We want to start our day off right. So starting it off with Jesus and the Bible is going to make it easier. It's just the way it is. Now throughout our day, our physical body kind of picks up debris, to say it this way. We get dirty, we get sweaty, we get tired. So what do we do about that? We take showers. If you're lucky, you get a nap in the middle of the day. I've not been too lucky to get that. If I maybe become a preschool teacher, I might be able to squeeze in a nap. But if you have those times of rest, that helps pick yourself up. But our soul is the same. Our physical, spiritual body is the same. It takes on debris. We get aggravated. Things we can't let go. We can't forgive something. Anger, anxiety leads to stress. The daily things that, we don't physically endure, but mentally and spiritually we endure. Those things weigh us down too. So how can we get rid of those things? In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 13, therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. I think this verse tells us exactly what we need to do to get rid of that debris that kind of tags onto us throughout the day. It makes it a lot easier knowing that we're connected to God, that God has us, is protecting us, has given us the Bible and stuff to help us deal with frustration, aggravation, stress, anxiety. Those things happen. Brother Ben was mentioning this earlier. He has a reminder on your phone, alarm that goes off. Time to pray, time to read a verse. That's a great way to plan out your day. That's a great way to kind of fight off those stresses. Oftentimes I give examples of myself, my own employment. I'm dealing with kids. It's very easy to get frustrated when a kid doesn't listen, and they do it often. And you repeat yourself over and over again. But there's those times that you just have to stop and take a breath and realize who you're dealing with. And that doesn't necessarily apply to children. When we get older, adults sometimes still act like children. And you kind of take a breath and you have to deal with those. And that's just, if we don't let go of some of those things, the debris, it gets heavy and it's hard to handle. And we want our day to be good. We want our day to be full. Like I was saying earlier with Brother Ben's planning and stuff, planning out our day is very important. It can help us stay focused, and it's one thing that being busy with 3 kids, we found it makes it a lot easier having a plan for the day. But what am I actually planning for? Every little thing, or am I planning for what's going to happen, and so forth? Because we all know things don't always go as planned. There's many times we've had situations that had to veer us away from what we were planning. Being busy at times, we try to do crock pot meals. Have this ready so when we get home we can eat and we can go. Well, a few weeks ago, we got a crock pot meal good and planned out. Everything was ready. Got home, electric went out. Crock pot's not done. Nobody wants raw chicken or raw meat or anything like that. We got to make a plan. We got to change our plan. In that scenario, it's very easy. We're just going to have to eat out. We're going to eat Long John Silver's or hopefully some other place, whatever it may be. But the plan was there. Everything else went smooth that day. But the one thing that messed up, we could easily fix. But if we don't plan anything, those things can get quick. They can mess up quickly. You have to play, you have to change this, change that, and things don't work out as well and that causes a lot more worry. You don't want to sit and worry and be anxious all the time, because then your day is full of worry and anxiety, and that's not good for yourself, your own health, or anybody else's. In Psalms 16 verse 9, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. I'll mention this now, and I'll mention it a little bit later, but our salvation has been planned out. But in that verse, it kind of tells us, we're going to make plans. It may not always go our way, but it's good to remember that the Lord directs our steps. If we follow those steps, we'll be okay. The next thing we could do to help us change our days is to believe in a good day and kind of enjoy it. Like I said, we can have this worry that builds up in us, and if we have this worry constantly and we're always anxious, are we going to have a good day? Probably not. It's not going to be fulfilling as we would like it. In Psalms chapter 92, verse 2, declare yourself loving kindness in the morning and your faithfulness every night. And this holds true. If we worry and have fear that the worst is likely, then we're probably going to worry and have fear all the time. It's very important to be optimistic, believe for the good, hope that the good is going to happen. Scientists did some research, optimism versus depression. And it shows that people who are more optimistic, actually their health have better health and fight off infection better. Now that doesn't mean you're immortal if you're always happy, but it does show that if we are more happy and more optimistic, we have a better chance of fighting off infection. And infection can lead to worse causes, worse illnesses. The way we see something determines what we get out of it. Again, changing our perspective, changing our days. If we believe we're going to have a good day, there's a good chance we will have a good day. Again, we plan for our day. Something goes wrong. We could let that one thing that goes wrong. We can be upset that our crock-pot meal did not go the way we wanted to. We can be upset that we showed up late for work, or we got behind the bus, or a kid, in my case, was disrespectful. We can let that burden us down. But are we going to have a good day? Probably not. Not if that happens. Our debris is going to hold us back. So, how often have we looked back and thought, I should have enjoyed myself more? Now, really kind of didn't take in the moment. Today is the only day we have, so if I don't change it and enjoy it, you're not going to enjoy it. And those things pop up constantly. If we are constantly burdened by little things, little debris that comes up, then our days are not going to be full, and we're going to have those moments at night maybe and think, I could have had a better day today. And that's going to happen. No one's perfect, and that's going to happen to all of us. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 11 and I think 11 and 12, for he who would love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him speak peace and pursue it. In a nutshell, that verse kind of sums up the point we're getting at. Pursuing peace is going to make your days way better. A lot more. I know there's those times in the days, an argument breaks out at work, and everybody's talking about it and so forth. We had an incident at school this past week, and everybody's talking about what happened. Oh my goodness, this happened. And it was a serious incident, but was it the worst thing that it could possibly happen? Of course not. But everybody was in a fuss and a fury about this one thing that happened. And were we letting that what happened on Wednesday affect our Friday? We needed to move on, and they needed to have a good day. And the students, they see that. They know. They can tell if the teachers are, in a fuss, or if everything's good, and it rubs off so easily. We're going to have those bad days, but make sure those bad days are things that we can't control. If you can control it, make it a good day. Because bad things are going to happen and things that are out of our control are going to happen. But when that happens, if we got everything else in line, if we've made our plan, had said our prayers and stuff, think about your family and friends. Do you enjoy your time with them? Your spouse, your children, your grandparents, your parents. If you enjoy those times, you're going to have a good day. It's that simple. You know how important family is and friends. Those things happen, or those things are important. Those things need to be cherished. The final thing to do to help change our day, we've talked about our morning and what we can do throughout the day, but it's very simple. Give thanks to God that you've been given the day you've had. A prayer always works for me at night. A prayer, or maybe a few Bible verses. Sometimes our minds at night, we thinking, and your mind races, and it's hard to shut off your mind. But maybe a little bit of meditation. Instead of sitting there with your eyes closed, counting to 100, or thinking about all the bills that are due, or what you could have done better. Think about God. Try to talk to God, and I would think that will ease your mind a lot easier and help you fall asleep a lot quicker. You'll think of some Bible verses. You'll think of some things Jesus has taught. Those things can help you meditate and hopefully help you relax and help you go to sleep. Because again, a good night rest is important. But yeah, that's those ways I'm getting at are ways we can change our days, because we can't change in an instant. I mean, we can't wake up and be like, I'm different. I'm going to do it differently. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. But saying I'm going to do this in a month is a lot harder. But if we do it day by day, it will make it easy. I said this before. Our salvation is planned out. This is another reason why we don't really need to worry about the future so much. And we don't need to spend our current day worrying about what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. One, we don't know what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. And two, we may not even be able to affect or change what's going to happen. Our future, though, is bright because of God's plan. We don't need to worry about the troubles that bother us daily. We have God to worry about that. We have God to take care of that. The following verses that Daniel read earlier, I chose these for many reasons, but it goes to our main point of changing our day and what our main purpose of being here is. In Matthew chapter 9, verses 28 through 30, and when he had come into the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, let it be to you." And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly warned them, saying, "See that no one knows it." But when, this is verse 31, but when they had departed, they spread the news about him in all the country. Now, if we really want to make change and change our daily behavior, change our perspective, then we should be like these blind men each day. We cannot resist to go out and tell everybody about Jesus and the story, and go out and tell that to everybody in the country. Tell everybody what he has given us and the promise of salvation. Because if we do that, then our church will be strengthened, we'll be strengthened, and our days will change. We can help you today change your day today, and in turn change your life, and hopefully even go out and change other people's lives as well. So if you feel it necessary, come forward now as we stand and as we sing.